Good morning and happy Monday. Today is the 13th, and we're going to be talking about our bell ringer number 3. So I have a little quote up. It says, Mindful Monday, let's start the week right. Starting the week right, starting every day right, even sometimes every moment is all about attitude. So let's make this week great. Now we're going to move on to some announcements for the week. We're going to begin chapter 2 on 3:14, which is tomorrow. And then you're going to have an exam on chapter 1 and 2 on Thursday. Please, if you're not comfortable with taking these exams, wait until after 2 o'clock on Thursday when we have our Zoom class, because that's what we'll do during Zoom. One of the things we'll do is we'll review for these 2 tests. Sim charting is something that we've began. I want to reiterate that this is your externship. Pay close attention and follow exact instructions. If you're having trouble registering your book and getting into your link, please let me know. We have to be able to get into this link. You have to be able to work this system because it's going to be what we're going to be using for the next 2 modules. Zoom is 2 o'clock on Thursday, just a reminder. And I want to say this, please have fun with this. Get in, get to know this EHR system, get in sim charting, play. When you go to your facility, your system is not going to look exactly like what we're working in, but the main features are going to be the same. The more that you know, the more experience you're going to gain with playing with it. So get in, you can't mess anything up. Please get in and get to know the system. Have fun with it. So today we're going to be talking about critical thinkers. Now, when you're working in the medical field, no matter what aspect, you're not always going to be able to ask someone your questions. Sometimes you're going to have to be able to do things just by thinking them through. So we're going to talk a little bit about critical thinking. What are those qualities that are common to all the influential critical thinkers? More importantly, are these qualities the ones that make them better at thinking in a nonlinear critical way? It has been observed that some people are just better than others in arriving at logical decisions. Now, this is where I have to really talk to myself. Am I making a logical decision or an emotional decision? Because how many times do we make an emotional decision and later on we think, oh man, I should have handled that differently? That's because you didn't stop and think logically. The secret behind being so good at decision making is not the quality of education that you receive or the places you have traveled. The secret lies in how much of their education they have applied in their life in a practical manner, and how much you have absorbed from the places you have visited and people you have conversed with. Okay, so you're going to hear me talk about visualize a toolbox in your head. I'm a visual person, so this is what I do. And when I learn something new, or I learn something that I know is going to help me be a better critical thinker or better at my job or better all the way around, I visualize opening that toolbox and putting that information in that toolbox. I know it sounds crazy, but it works for me. I have a mental toolbox. I have a toolbox in my brain. If I have a situation that I don't handle well, I always try to be introspective. I always look at it and say, how could I have handled that better? What could I have done differently for a better outcome? And then I put that in my toolbox. So the next situation I can handle better. When dealing with sick patients, you're going to have tools to deal with that. You cannot always go on emotion because they're already emotional. You have to be logical and kind. Researchers state that critical thinkers all over the world have 4 common qualities. They are active listeners. I have to work on being a better active listener, I just have to say. They are curious people. They have self-discipline. They are humble and rooted. Active listening is oft repeated quote that the best communicators aren't those who speak well, but who listen well. You might be a persuasive speaker. However, when you don't listen to others, you will keep on speaking out of tune. Your brilliant statements and observations will be totally irrelevant in such cases. Being an active listener means you have to be completely attentive and engaged to what the speaker is saying. Not only that, an active listener can also understand the subconscious messages that the speaker is sending, just by interpreting the words of the speaker when the speaker might not have explicitly mentioned it otherwise. How many times when we're listening are we thinking about what we want to say in response? I'm horrible at that. Like I said, I want to learn to be a better active listener. Am I good at it? Yes, but I know I can be better. So when you're being given specific instructions on these videos, are you actively listening? If you're not actively listening, I challenge you to begin to practice active listening, because when you're in your chosen field, there are going to be times you're given a list of things that need to be done. Yes, you can write them down. Of course you can. But you need to actively listen to the instructions to be able to write them down so that you can complete the tasks in a timely manner and without asking a million questions. Curiosity. A curious brain is a learning brain. Now, why is this important to coders? Because we're always going to be learning something. I'm going to turn my little heater on here. I'm a little cold. We're always going to be learning something in the medical field. Codes are going to change. Billing systems are going to change. Practices are going to change. Laws may even change. You have to have a learning brain. You always have to be willing to learn. That's one of the things that I love, is to learn something new. So in the medical field, you have to be curious. You have to be an active learner. And I'm not going to read all of that. I've just said what needed to be said with that one. Self-discipline. One of the main objectives of self-discipline is to prevent others from influencing your thoughts, so that you can have an independent reasoning and rationalizing ability. Critical thinkers are more aware of their surroundings and their strengths and weaknesses than others. Okay, why do I think self-discipline is important? Well, I'm just going to share with you when I was a coder. I would come in, and sometimes there would be 500 super bills sitting on my desk that needed to be coded. And then I would have 25, 30 procedures, medical records for procedures that needed to be coded. If I didn't have self-discipline in sitting there, organizing myself, organizing my workload, and making a goal and being disciplined toward that goal, how would I ever complete my tasks for that day? It is so important that you guys are able to be self-disciplined. If you have tasks to complete, do not be listening to your coworkers. Do not be talking on the phone. You need to be engaged, because you need to be accurate. Sometimes accuracy takes self-discipline. So I'm going to challenge you, as you go through sim charting and you're putting in patient demographics and the details you need to put in. No, I can't go back and check that. That isn't, the system doesn't work that way. But I want you to practice self-discipline. Make sure you're in a quiet space. Make sure you're taking the task that you're doing seriously. Humility. Humility is the quality of downplaying one's contribution in a successful task while giving credit to others. Humility is also the quality of being open to new ideas. Critical thinkers are always humble while learning, so that they can learn new things without their ego fighting against someone teaching them something. Now, humility, it's a tough word for a lot of people, but it's really easily done. You have to be teachable. You have to be coachable. You have to listen to people that have been in the field longer, even if someone hasn't been in the field longer. Please always listen, because you never know what someone else may know that can help you. You must be coachable. You must be open to new ideas. The medical field is ever changing. This is so important. Being humble and listening is not a bad thing. It is not a bad thing. Being humble doesn't mean that you're saying you're wrong or you're weak. It just means that you're willing to listen and learn. Okay, so let's do a quick critical thinking question. Jonas presents to the office demanding to see his medical record. Your manager has left for the day. How would you respond to this situation? First of all, let's look at the word demanding. You're going to have demanding patients. This is when you're going to have to think about, put on that thinking cap, start thinking critically, because he's going to be upset. He's coming at you. You have to manage your emotions and you have to think critically. How do I handle this patient? We'll say he's a patient because he's coming to the office for the medical record, right? How am I going to handle this patient that's demanding? I cannot handle him by throwing fuel on the fire. I must de-escalate. Your manager has left for today. You could just simply say, Jonas, Mr. Jonas. I understand that that's what you want. I appreciate that. Okay, just one moment, please. Let me explain to you the process. And what would the process be? Well, I'm just going to give you some discussion guidelines. Let's think of it like this. Calmly explain to Jonas that although the medical information in the chart belongs to him, the physical chart is the property of the medical office. The physical paper belongs to the medical office, the hospital, whatever facility. Excuse me. The information inside that's all Jonas's. He owns his name, his birthday, his medical history, but the paper and the record actually belongs to the facility. Sorry. What will Jonas need to do? He will need to make an appointment with the privacy officer, in this case, the manager. Sorry, guys, let me take a quick drink. He'll need to make an appointment with the privacy officer, in this case, it's the office manager, to sit down and review the record together. Alternatively, the patient may sign a release of medical records form to obtain a copy of the original chart. So I have to say, I've never heard of here in Louisiana where they had to make an appointment with an office manager or a privacy officer to get their medical records. I do beg your pardon, guys. I've only heard where they've had to sign the release of the medical record where they could get a copy. They only get a copy. So you're just going to calmly explain to Jonas that we need him to sign a medical release form so we can get him a copy of that. If you're not allowed to do that in your medical office, that's when you would say, we need to speak with the office manager when she returns, and the office manager will give you a call. But the biggest thing is for you to keep a level head and calm. Keep calm. I know this was a little longer than what we usually do, but I just think it's very, very important to prepare you guys for what you may encounter in a medical office. I want you to always remember that you're in charge of your own emotions and you're in charge of listening, active listening, being humble, and making sure that you're teachable and flexible at all times. Have a great day. I'll see you guys on your 5-minute video tomorrow. Bye-bye.